Hello everyone. Welcome to the news on December 15, 2022. The first one is NATO-related news. NATO budget surges by over a quarter. The sharp increase in spending is a response to the degraded security environment, the bloc insists. NATO member states have agreed to increase the alliance's budget for 2023 by over 25%, the military bloc announced on Wednesday. The US-led alliance justified the move by referring to the ongoing conflict between Moscow and Kiev. The decision was motivated by the degraded security environment caused by the Ukraine crisis, according to the military bloc's statement. I strongly welcome the agreement of NATO's civil and military budgets for 2023, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg said, asserting that only North America and Europe, working together in a strong NATO, can keep our 1 billion people safe in a more dangerous world. The civil budget has been set to €370.8 million, $396.1 million, while the military spending is set to reach €1.96 billion. The figures constitute a sharp increase compared to 2022, up by 27.8% and 25.8% respectively. The budgets represent the spending of the organization itself, with the civil part covering funds for personnel, operating costs, and program expenditures of NATO's headquarters and its international staff. The military budget is meant to cover the cost of NATO command structure headquarters, missions, and operations around the world. The third commonly funded element, the NATO Security Investment Program, NSIP, which covers construction costs as well as command and control system investments, has also received a boost. The NSIP cap has been set to €1 billion, representing a 26.6% increase. The sharp uptick in spending for the bloc's jointly funded activities comes as multiple member states have pledged to spend more on defense individually, citing the need to replenish weapons stockpiles, which have been thinned out by continuous support for Kiev. They have also claimed the need to boost their capabilities in the face of the alleged Russia threat. The US alone has approved a record-breaking budget of some $848 billion, with some $800 million specifically allocated to aid Ukraine. Russia has repeatedly raised concerns over the ever-growing NATO bloc, the eastward expansion of which has been openly named by Moscow as a prime threat to its security. NATO expansion remains the main driver for the West in relations not only with Russia, the post-Soviet countries and the former Warsaw Pact nations, which are already almost all absorbed by the alliance, but also, in general, in relations with other regions of the world, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said last week. US charges Russians with illegally purchasing electronics. The accused are suspected of smuggling and money laundering, according to the Justice Department. 5 Russian nationals have been charged in the US for unlawfully buying electronic equipment, including some which could be used for military purposes, as well as money laundering and attempting to defraud Washington, the country's Justice Department announced on Tuesday. It added that 2 US nationals had also been charged in the case. However, only 3 of the 7 accused, 1 Russian national and 2 US nationals, have been apprehended. According to a statement published on the department's website, the defendants are believed to have conspired to obtain military-grade and dual-use technologies from American companies for Russia's defense sector and to have smuggled sniper rifle ammunition, all in violation of U.S. sanctions imposed upon Moscow earlier this year over its ongoing military campaign in Ukraine. The Justice Department further notes that some of the highly sensitive and heavily regulated electronic components, allegedly acquired by the defendants, could be used in the development of nuclear and hypersonic weapons, quantum computing and other military applications. In its statement, the Justice Department suggests one of the defendants works for Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, while the others are affiliated with Cernia Engineering and Sertel LLC, 2 Moscow-based companies that the U.S. claims operate under the direction of Russian intelligence services to procure advanced electronics for Russia's military-industrial complex. Both companies, however, have denied having anything to do with the accused Russian nationals. These are all sanctioned fictions. We have nothing to do with the people who appear in the news, nothing, Cernia General Director Sergei Urshov told RT, adding that his company was being dragged into this case for some unknown reason. Both Cernia and Sertel were sanctioned by the U.S. after Moscow launched its campaign in Ukraine. The U.S. accused the companies and the people associated with them of being instrumental to the Russian Federation's war machine. The defendants could all face up to 30 years in prison if convicted. EU set to freeze assets of RT's parent company. The next sanctions package against Moscow will likely also ban other Russian TV channels, the EUOB server reports. The EU's upcoming ninth sanctions package will likely strike at Russian media channels, including RT, that have been accused of posing a threat to the Union's public order and security, the EU Observer reported on Monday, citing draft documents. According to the outlet, lawmakers are looking to freeze all of the EU assets of Onyo TV Novosti, RT's parent company, which they accuse of gravely distorting and manipulating facts. The next package would also place personal sanctions on some 200 individuals and companies and revoke broadcast licenses for 3 Russian channels, NTV, NTV Mir, Rossiya 1, and REN TV, who have also been accused of trying to destabilize EU countries. The move comes as Russian media channels, including RT and its German-language division RT.de, have come under fire from Western officials and media outlets for disseminating what they call propaganda and Kremlin talking points. RT, Sputnik, and most other major Russian news outlets have been banned from broadcasting in the EU since Moscow launched its special military operation in Ukraine in late February. However, a study conducted by the German editorial network, RND, found that many European citizens have been bypassing the bans and continue to read and watch the channels through Telegram, YouTube, and other resources. Earlier this month, The Insider reported that a CEMAS poll found nearly 44% of Germans supported the notion that Putin was fighting against the global elite, which secretly controls the world. The outlet also found a vast network of German-language Telegram channels sharing pro-Russian content. EU officials are now calling for more decisive measures to censor Russian content within the bloc. Deputy leader of the Union Parliamentary Group Andrea Lindholz has suggested creating a special reporting commission to collect and examine examples of Russian disinformation. Now that everything is becoming more expensive, there is a risk that people will become more receptive to pro-Russian fake news, she explained. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the European Federation of Journalists Ricardo Gutierrez has blasted the EU for censoring Sputnik and RT without going through state media regulators. In an interview with France 24 last week, he warned that such an approach threatened freedom of the press in Europe. The rules are very clear in this area. If these television channels violate the broadcasting rules, by inciting hatred for example, then yes, they must be banned. But it is not enough to say that they are propagandists, Gutierrez pointed out. Watchdog estimates civilian death toll from Ukrainian attacks on Donbass. More than 4,500 people have been killed since mid-February, with supplies of NATO weapons resulting in a surge of deaths, observers claim. Weapons supplied to Ukraine by NATO countries have allowed Kiev's military to significantly ramp up attacks on civilian targets in Donbass, a local watchdog has said. The group claims that over 4,500 civilians have been killed and 4,000 injured since Ukrainian forces escalated shelling in mid-February. Military terror has escalated beyond all limits after NATO members started supplying weapons to Ukraine. The Joint Center for Control and Coordination, JCCC, a monitoring group that tracks attacks on the Lugansk and Donetsk People's Republics, said on Wednesday. We have recorded a four-fold increase in the number of victims among the civilian population, Natalia Shutkina, a representative from the Donetsk People's Republic at the JCCC, said as quoted by TASS. The JCCC held a press conference on Wednesday during which it showed fragments of Western shells and rockets collected after Ukrainian strikes in Donbass and explained the toll these attacks had taken. Since February 17, 4,527 civilians have been killed, including 154 children, Shutkina stated. Another 4,317 civilians, including 274 children, have been injured, she said, adding that Ukrainian attacks have damaged over 12,000 homes, 128 medical facilities, and 67 sites required for providing basic utilities, such as water and heating. The record-keeping begins in mid-February when the Donbass republics reported a significant escalation of strikes by Kiev in the lead-up to Russia having recognized the DPR and LPR as sovereign states and pledged to defend them. The two regions have since been incorporated into Russia following referendums in September. Shutkina pointed out that the weapon systems provided by the US and its allies are supposed to be more accurate than the Soviet-era artillery guns and rocket launchers that Ukraine possessed previously. This leads the JCCC to believe that the Ukrainian attacks on civilian facilities have been intentional rather than being part of indiscriminate strikes, she stressed.